Before we headed to Denali National Park, we spent a few days near the village of Healy along the Stampede Trail, which is where Chris McCandless from the story Into the Wild started his trail into the wilderness and found himself the magic bus. The bus is still out in the wild where it was left, but we weren't prepared to do the 2 river crossings to reach it. We did try a bit of tundra walking from our camp spot, but it was just a pain in the butt to walk along, so we were happy just relaxing in the sun with Daphne. We did get to see a replica of the bus. It was the one that was used in the movie, and it was based at the brewery in Healy, so we got to have a look inside at the place that Chris called home. It was finally time for us to head to Denali National Park, where we had a campground booked, which is something we don't normally do, but it was definitely the best way to see the park. Private vehicles can normally only drive up to mile 15, so by staying in the Teklanika campground we got to drive in our private vehicle up to mile 30. So the main way people see Denali without their cars is hopping onto one of the park buses, and it costs $35 for a day pass. Now if you're staying at the Teklanika campground, you get this 1-day pass which lasts as long as you're staying in the campground, so all we paid was $35 for unlimited amount of buses for our 5-day stay, which was such a good deal. We soon understood why private vehicles weren't allowed in the park, because the roads were absolutely crazy with some serious sheer drops, and also the amount of wildlife you see along the way would cause so many traffic jams, so by having the buses it controls that. We ended up seeing 9 grizzly bears, a handful of moose, a coyote and hundreds of caribou, so it was an awesome place to see wildlife for us. The bears are really unfazed by the buses, so they will actually walk alongside the bus so you can poke your head out the window and get some really cool shots. One of the cool things about Denali is you can hike wherever you like as long as it's not a restricted area, so you don't have to follow trails. The only rule is that if there's a few of you, you sort of spread out, so you're not following in one line, therefore you're not making a new path. We tried to make the most of our final day in Denali by getting 2 buses in one day, so it was a really long day and we got the final bus of the evening, and that ended up being a big snowstorm. The heavy snow ended up causing rock slides, so suddenly we had a rock in the road which we had to move, and as we continued along the section with the cliff edges, we watched some rocks literally crumble from the wall to our right onto the road in front of us. We'd been joking beforehand with some people whose first time it was on the bus about what a fun ride it was and how great the sheer drops were, and suddenly everyone was shitting themselves, including us. The bus driver reported the rock slides and some people came out with tractors to clear the road. We did make it back in one piece, but it was a pretty scary day. After 5 nights camping in Denali, it was time for us to hit the road, so we headed to Fairbanks to catch up on civilization and stock up on food, and then we went east to the small town of North Pole. It was literally Christmas here year round, so we were here in summer, and even the lampposts were made to look like candy canes. We followed the signs to meet Santa Claus, who actually wasn't as exciting as the one we met in Finland, but it was still nice nonetheless. We then headed back into the wilderness, and this time on the Richardson Highway, which wasn't the most exciting of roads. The mountains weren't very close to us, but it was lovely and lonely, and we saw wild caribou along there and found some of the best places to wild camp. One of the nicest places we found to camp was beside this really shallow lake. A big storm brewed in the evening and a massive rainbow appeared, which was incredible. continued on our way to Valdez, where the mountains got more impressive along the route. We passed some beautiful waterfalls and got up close to a glacier. One evening we were camped and we spotted a moose out of our van window and watched her walk into the middle of the road as a car was coming, so she frantically ran right past us, which was pretty crazy watching.